All right, scavengers, welcome to episode 48 of the Scale Scavengers podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Fontaine. I am joined with my good friends and co-host, Chris, Letty, and TC. Guys, we're just talking before the show. It's only been 2 weeks since our last episode, but it certainly feels like it's been about a month for some reason, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, this weird time. The holiday weekend, whatever it is, it definitely feels like forever since we talked.
Yeah, the days are blending.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
All the days end in Y, and here we are talking collecting, and we've already got about 18 live viewers, so thanks everybody tuning in live and on YouTube. Kind of ended the Facebook experiment. We were also simulcasting over there too, but it seemed like we only had like one viewer that was commenting, and usually somebody like Mark would say, hey, join us on YouTube. So welcome everybody joining us live, and then obviously shout out to our scavengers that are downloading this in their earbuds or listening in their car on the audio only version of the podcast at this point. So guys, got a really good show planned. As you can see in the show title, our topic this time out is going to be, when is it time to sell part of your collection? And I saw a lot. Not really a surprise for anybody there, but got a lot of good early reception from our community on this topic, and something that a lot of scavengers tend to struggle with, because not necessarily the FOMO or fear of missing out or regretting something. I mean, hey guys, if I can buy and sell the same figure 3 times, it's perfectly okay to buy something back after.
Yeah. It's okay when Fontaine buys something 3 times and sells it 3 times, and you guys are not alone.
What's
not alone?
What's the count on that one, Bryan?
I've lost count. That's the sad part. Once you just get in, I should know that, TC. So obviously, and everybody tuning in live, you can see it on the cover art too. Not R2D2, but the cover art. Roy did an amazing save of TC's photo art here with the Eric Killmonger figure that we're going to do a Marvel retro review. We've been really heavy on the Star Wars lately. We want to give a shout out to our Marvel scavengers, and we still collect Marvel. We just happen to talk about Star Wars quite a bit.
Well, if Marvel would if Hot Toys would just release some more Marvel figures, we'd be okay. But I think they're coming down the pipeline, but it seems like Star Wars and some DC figures are getting a little bit more love lately.
Yeah, I think we're going to follow the Hot Toys method of not striking while the iron is hot. Krennic's released. Let's not review Krennic. Let's go back and go Killmonger.
I know,
We'll
right?
do that one. Great minds think
classic.
alike.
Or, not put out any kind of Star Wars release on the 40th anniversary of arguably one of the greatest movies of all time with Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, there was a little bit of shade being thrown around about that. But whatever. I mean, it's just that's just what Hot Toys does. They just don't do what you think they're going to do.
This is the way.
It is.
So I'm obviously screwing up the video thing here. I've tried a new setup and may have to just scrap the screen shares that we typically do, which, isn't necessarily a problem. I think I'm going to make the executive decision and just not even try to fiddle with that. So let's move along, guys, in our typical show standards that we do. Well, obviously I'm off my game here because I can't apparently run a show board here with the images. Maybe I'll try to fix it. But let's move on to the Spark, guys. This is our opportunity to kind of talk about something maybe a little outside the collecting realm, a good way to wax poetic on something that, we've got going on. So Chris, I'll start with you.
All right. Well, in the past we've discussed Lord of the Rings, and that's my Spark. The wife and I have we started a rewatch marathon, and it's taken many days so far, and we're not even through Two Towers, doing all the extended editions. And I mean, I just watching it brings back, the love of that series and those movies. And I just, there's some things that don't quite hold up, visual effects wise, but still, I think the movies are just so great. And I mean, it's not quite pulling me to the Asmus 1/6 scale collecting, but in a perfect world, I'd probably jump on a few of those figures. But I just Lord of the Rings, love the series, and hopefully Asmus makes more figures for collectors. I think Galadriel's been teased to some degree, and Gandalf the White, maybe the Crown series is coming along. Asmus has been sharing some pictures from their warehouses and that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And also Amazon down the line making the Lord of the Rings series, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, it's
Can't
cool.
go wrong with.
I was going to say, I think
go
people
wrong
are
with
just
Lord of the
waiting
Rings.
for Asmus, the Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are waiting on that one with high anticipation. But I'll just go right ahead on my spark if you don't mind, Brian.
Yeah, sure.
I think just podcasting in general. I think there's just a lot of great stuff out right now, and it's always seems to be expanding. I tend to listen to a lot of the collecting stuff, but I just listened today to Justin's collection, his podcast with Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Last night I was talking with Zach and Dean from Collecting Weekly on their podcast. They put out a great show, and their suite of shows, and then Rogue 1/6 is rocking it with the statue game and the helmet game. So I just been listening to a lot of that stuff, and usually actually in the last week or so prior to that I haven't been, just because I don't drive as much, but in the last week I've tried to make a concerted effort, and it's been really good.
A lot of content out there, man.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to listen to, there's something out there for you, and I think that's great. Oh yeah, I mean, it's just there's just so much. I'm a podcast. I won't say the word.
Connoisseur.
Connoisseur.
Aficionado.
I was going to say something that rhymes with connoisseur. But yeah, I love me some podcasts.
Nice.
Brian, what about you, man?
I'm falling behind I'm falling behind on podcasts lately. I had a good streak going that I was keeping up with them, but it is what it is. I forgot, Chris, forgot to mention, we finally did make the appearance on Star Wars 7x7.
Yep.
With Alan Voivod. You haven't had an opportunity to listen to that yet. It kind of gave a little bit of the origin story of Scale Scavengers, so go ahead and check that out. We talked, some Star Wars as well, so certainly good. So, and shout out to, before I give my spark, there's quite a few scavengers out live chatting already. I see Mario, Martin chiming in, Dan Lee, Raul in the house, New Hampshire representing, Jeff, Mark, my brother in the force. Zach's trying to give me some tech support. Zach, I am screwing up royally right now when it comes to either my audio on my side and then trying to share. It seems like StreamYard made some updates since the last time we recorded. So I'm just going to give up on it tonight. I'd rather focus on talking with everybody there. I see Justin out there, Simon, Wayne, Red Wolf, Mike Collins, one of my favorite scavengers, Collector Zone. I don't know if I said that right, but I've seen him chiming in. And obviously Nathan trying to stay up late over there in the UK. So I'm sure there's a whole bunch of others that I may have missed at this point. But anyways, guys, my spark, I'll be brief just so we can get into talking about this news at this point. But I've been on a big X-Men kick. I've been trying to go through Disney Plus and get through the X-Men animated series. I found out once I hit about season 3 that there was some stuff that was out of order and it didn't really make any sense. Come to find out, Disney Plus screwed up royally when it came to putting seasons 3, 4, and 5 out there, completely all out of order. But I found an article that helps you get them in the right order. So almost done that. And then I know we just hit the 20th anniversary of the first X-Men film. So I might go back through and give those a rewatch just for some nostalgia feels and stuff, just to show that we're not entirely all Star Wars and MCU. Give some X-Men some love too. So, all right, guys, let's shift gears and talk news. And like I said, I'm not even going to attempt to show the screenshots at this point, but up first, guys, let's talk, and we'll try to do this in date order that it came out since our last show. Chris, first up, we've got the Jawa and Gonk Droid released. A little bit of a surprise because this was announced for pre-order September 18th, 2019. We got it released May 19th, 2020, about 9 months, 10 months or so. You know, my math's really bad. I'm a collector, not a mathematician. The original retail price of that $267. So, Chris, the blogger photos that we would have shown made it look kind of cool, but I think everything we've seen since then, we try to keep it positive around here. I just want to preface our scavengers with this, but I don't know, Chris. I'm going to let you lead on this one.
I'll just lead it off with hard pass. It's a figure with another accessory next to it. It doesn't, the blogger pictures don't really give it, they don't do it any justice. It's just not, look, if you like filling out scenes, you want to create a New Hope scene, you plan on doing a Mandalorian scene, something like that. He's a good figure to have in the background. This would not be a focal point figure by any means, in my opinion. But yeah, it's not one that's calling to me. I don't think I will, pick up this guy in the future. But hey, Hot Toys did it. It makes a lot of people wonder, will they make another pack with another accessory droid or whatever? I know. What are they stealing? The blood fin here? This is pretty interesting. On the screen.
Yeah, I had to laugh at this. I did manage. I'm still screwing some royally, but no, I don't know. TC,
this is a tough one. It's a
tough one.
When do Jawas when are they ever by themselves? Like I always remember maybe in A New Hope when they're at the Tatooine. No, when they're when they're about to meet Han Solo. Maybe they're like one on the Luke the land speeder. There's a Jawa by himself, but like they're always together. So like the fact that you're offering one with a Gonk, and then every picture shows two in the promo pictures.
I know.
So it's like,
and then you've got something crazy here. You've got one red, one yellow eye.
I know.
Obviously photoshopped. This Gonk. So there hasn't been a lot of reviews. You guys mentioned Justin's collection. I think he's been one of the only ones I've seen review it, and he, like us, tends to be really positive about these. But you could tell there was an undertone of not necessarily being super thrilled with this one,
especially for the price.
Yeah, the price. If this was $185, okay, I could get on board with that. But it's $270 plus shipping plus tax for a lot of places. $310. That's a lot for a Jawa.
So I guess it's kind of collection update related on this one. But so I had this on pre-order with Big Bad Toy Store, and there was no NRD on this. And because there was no NRD, and I found out that I could get it cheaper going through Underground Figures, I went ahead and moved my pre-order over with Ray. And so thinking that, okay, I'll save a little bit of money, help out one of the smaller retailers that we talked about last time out. And then you get something like this happens. And we also talked about it last time out there too. We certainly don't want to be in the game of wanting to, cancel a pre-order based on once a figure gets released. And we're talking about walking that really fine line between, do you need to pre-order because they're going to be scarce and, with the current conditions that we're in, versus can you wait to pre-order until you see it in Hong Kong? This is the epitome of maybe wait if it's not a super popular
Mhm.
figure. But I don't know. So anyway, long story short, I'm not going to cancel. So Ray, you're listening. I'm not going to cancel my pre-order. I'm just not super jazzed about it. I'm probably going to keep it. I don't know if I'm going to open it. I might keep it sealed. I may just look to, I may end up selling it. I don't know. We'll see. I wanted to see some more reviews, guys. I mean, there's only a few people that have it in hand. Not like not saying that they're not qualified, but I'm also, anytime I need to make a decision, I like to have as many opinions as possible, kind of, before I have to make a decision about it.
I like the idea of this release. It's a great thing. Now, Jawas they're not instrumental, but they're key part of Star Wars universe, and it's just the fact that you got to buy 2 sets, and then you got to have 2 Gonk droids, and you got to spend almost $530. Well, no, over $540. No, about $540. Min to get that. It's just disappointing.
It's just
in The Mandalorian, they're going to release a 2-pack. It's just they're going to do it.
It's going to be off-world Jawa with a darker cloak and
an egg.
Yeah, and oh my
DX.
God. A DX Jawa.
There had to be one of those coming.
Oh man. Episodes. Well, I mean, if it came with a mud horn, that would be pretty sweet.
Oh.
But
I would even take the mud horn signet.
Yeah, we're getting a little carried away. This is, I mean, some of the chats saying,
I'm looking at the comments right now, guys, and they're not kind. I mean, we're, in general, a fairly positive community.
Maybe a discount.
I saw Mike saying a spectacular sale. Mark saying maybe free shipping and $20 off. Collector Zone is saying not the worst release they've ever seen, which is probably true. But I don't know. I think, guys, like, the thing I struggle with is they've nailed it out of the park. Obviously, we would have loved to review Krennic in this episode. I've got it in hand. You guys don't have it yet. To be fair, I wanted to make sure everybody had it in hand before we talk about it, because it's phenomenal. And with the solo release, the standard and deluxe, and then the Mud Trooper, I mean, Hot Toys came right out of the quarantine over in Asia and China, coming out strong, and then they come out with this Jawa set. It doesn't seem like it's up to their standard. So I don't know. I'm not gonna write all the think piece articles here to say is Hot Toys done and all that other stuff. But they're gonna have misses. I mean, we're probably some of the biggest Hot Toys fanboys out there. I mean, we have an entire podcast dedicated to it. I mean, we're bound to, but I don't know.
This is gonna go to waitlist in a week.
I know Mario earlier was like, it's going to be the next.
Okay, so let's just hypothetically say what's going on here. So, not a heavily pre-ordered figure. Hot Toys is sitting there thinking, okay, we got to at least make a minimum here. And you think about everybody's day jobs here. You know you have something to do. It's not your favorite thing to do, but you know you got to go through with it anyways. Do you give it your best effort? I mean, you want to give your best effort, but maybe don't. I don't know.
Yeah, Taylor says production was probably rushed, and it's totally possible. It's with everything that's happened, you wonder how they adjusted their production schedule. Did certain figures, they're like, okay, well, we have all of our materials and everything to finish these figures out. Could we make one more pass on them to fine tune them? We can probably get away without doing that. Or, it's just really interesting to see, or it would be interesting to know, what their strategy was going through all this. Did they bump up figures? Did they push figures back? We'll never know. It's just interesting to think about.
I had to laugh at Raul with this one too. More than the minimum that's required for me at work is my definition of failure. So I don't know, guys. Well, like you said, Chris, you mentioned it. That was kind of one of my predictions as well. Is I think you might see this as a summer exclusive, because it'd be really easy to make it a Mandalorian release if they're going to do a Toy Fair exclusive. So we'll see. Maybe they needed to get this version out You've seen that with like Captain Marvel and some other things that they want to have down the pipeline. They don't want to kind of have to
double up,
double up or cannibalize themselves. So we'll see. More to come. But moving along, the next thing I want to talk about here is Gal Gadot. Guys.
Damn.
Yeah, like I had to look up. We try to sound like we know what we're talking about with this, and I didn't get the armor, and it just didn't. I guess there was and actually the funny thing is now I have more questions than answers when I started to look up the Kingdom Come series that they did, and it seemed like it was the mid to late 90s, and this movie takes place in 1984 with this armor that she has. But head sculpt wise, guys. If they can nail the production, and there's Jesse in our group was showing like photos of every time they've missed on the production of Gal and Wonder Woman form, and maybe fourth time's the charm, guys. I don't know, but anyways, let's get through the stats before we kind of oodle over this Wonder Woman release. But we've got the standard and deluxe that was announced on May 22nd. Promo code MMS 578 577. Retail price of the standard is going to be $300. The retail price of the deluxe is going to be $360. I did notice Big Bad Toy Store when we put these links and stuff on our website, scalescavengers.com, that it seems like Big Bad Toy Store was charging more. So something to kind of keep note going forward if they're having to increase price over base Sideshow price to account for their cheap shipping. But it's one figure. I'm not willing to say that that's a trend we need to pay attention to. The Hot Toys estimate of these releases is going to be Q2, Q3 next year, 2021. The Sideshow estimate of getting this in hand is going to be April to June 2021, which still sounds really weird to say, but here we go, guys.
Man, people already saying best female head sculpt they've ever done. I mean, like you were saying, if they can recreate this for production, I mean, they're gonna have a hit, and then all other Wonder Woman figures going forward, they can only continue to improve on. But man, that head sculpt, if it looks just like her, it's crazy. The suit is really cool. It's very different. It's such a different looking aesthetic with the gold, and I think it's a great looking figure. I'm curious to see how she uses the suit in the movie whenever that comes out. And the deluxe with the interchangeable wings that are spread out, I don't know if they gave the stats on the width of that, but man, it's pretty big wingspan there. But I don't know. I can't say this is a figure that I'm definitely going to get, but it's one that intrigues me.
Yeah, this one's crazy because they're not going to be able to reuse. Well, I'm guessing they're not going to be able to reuse any of the wings for any other figure that's coming down the pike. This sculpt, forget the best female sculpt. This is maybe the best sculpt that I've ever seen. I mean, this is right up there. This is Anakin Skywalker level, Director Krennic level, Tony Stark battle damage mark 85. I mean, this is right up there with the elites that Hot Toys has ever done. I don't know who sculpted this. I want to find out who sculpted this and see what else that they've done for Hot Toys. But I don't know. It's like you bring this figure in and it's like, does it just dwarf the other ones you have? I mean, it's impressive. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I mean, and Raul's, expressing, his lack of, the rooted hair. He's not a big fan of the rooted hair. And I mean, if you're good at styling quote unquote doll hair, I mean, you can get it.
Hair wax does
get it
wonders.
locked in. My buddy Justin's making fun of me about, collecting some of these girl figures with rooted hair. I mean, what are you going to do? If you do sculpted hair on this long hair, you can't pose her in hardly any positions unless you come up with a technique where you have several different hairstyles that her head, so you can have it in a couple different poses. But then you've also got this helmet that she wears. So I think that's a lot of variables for a figure, and how much do they want to, how many accessories and stuff do they want to have for a figure, especially it's already deluxe. But yeah, sorry, Justin's just making fun of me in the chat. That's all.
Nothing new, Justin. Keep it coming. We appreciate that. Anytime you can make fun of Letty, it's a good thing. TC and I do that every day. You guys just don't hear most of it.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody. So guys, I tried to grab, and I just seen our group. I don't know if it was his photos or if it was something from another group, but I did notice that whether it was the handling, and I'm probably going to try to go over them in the torso area, it looked like there was some of the gold paint that had kind of come off, and you could kind of see the plastic underneath. So I think one thing to be careful about this figure, and the funny thing too is the photos from Secret Base aren't as gold as this. I mean, this is extreme lighting. It's made to look even shinier than it will be in person, especially once you get this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to extend the wings in a DTOF. You're going to need something wider, or you're going to want to put it on top of a shelf. So, I mean, if you go in the deluxe on this, you're paying for the wings. So $60 more for a pair of wings. I don't know. Like you guys said, the female head sculpt of Gal Gadot here is one of the best prototypes we've seen in some time. It remains to see what the production looks like, but it's promising. You have to, obviously, all we have to go by is this announcement here for the pre-order. So, we got all the information on our website. You can kind of decide for yourself if you're interested in this figure and look at the pros and the cons of the standard versus deluxe and whatnot. But I think, I really do hope for DC fans and like Gare Bear, ours formerly known as Gare Bear. He's DC 24/7, 365 days a year. And I hope this movie is really good. I mean, DC is, they've kind of gotten better. I mean, we haven't even mentioned, guys, the Snyder Cut of Justice League that's coming. Shout out to all the fans that have wanted that, and hopefully the positive fans that have wanted it, not the negative reaction of saying the other version was garbage. But anyways, there's any kind of fandom or whatnot that you're going to have the undesirables in it. But anyways, hope this movie's good, and DC kind of continues the trend of solid movies that they've been releasing.
One last thing. So people are saying like this is the we got Gal Gadot or Wonder Woman in her golden armor, but we didn't get a golden rod, a golden C-3PO. What do we think? Do you think this is the paint scheme that they would use for a C-3PO, or do you think C-3PO is just probably not going to happen? Or they're just
it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
This is a C-3PO is going to be metallic. I mean, it's going to be chromed out. It's because it's die cast. I think it's going to be a little bit different. But yeah, it is unfortunate. 40th anniversary Star Wars, and then you got Wonder Woman. So it shows that maybe C-3PO is not coming down the pike anytime soon.
We got to get some Star. We haven't had a lot of Star Wars chat here, TC. So I mean, obviously everybody could have sworn that we're going to get Bespin Han on the May the 4th. Kind of came and went. We didn't get that. The redo, the Bespin Luke 2.0. Thought that was going to come. Everybody wants a Chewie updated with C-3PO on the back. Might be another reason. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that they could get. I mean, we need a Lando. I think Star Wars is just going to take their time with the releases. They're going to put things out, and hopefully that they do well with pre-orders. And ultimately, they're concerned with selling figures. We could want some of these characters all we want when you're talking about a movie that's 40 years old, a lot of us OG Star Wars fans are clamoring for it, but does that mean newer Star Wars fans are going to want that? We just don't know. I think this is where we're going to really start to find out what Hot Toys is and what their plan is. But we saw it with a figure like Krennic being released. I mean, I was talking to my son recently, and I just got my Krennic from Steven's Collectibles. Shout out to Steven. And I was opening up, and my son was asking, he's like, "Oh, what movie is that from?" I was like, "Rogue One." And my son's like, "Didn't that come out a couple of years ago?" And so I think even they're going to have like that aspect. I mean, it's impossible for the way that they produce figures to ever be super current with things unless they announce it well before a movie comes out. And it's just, I don't think that Disney and Lucasfilm will let them do that. So we're going to be delayed in getting figures, which is fine. But, you know, we've shout out to our buddy Sean, who obviously is involved with some of these things and can't really talk about them, but I'm sure he would love to be able to if he could. But my sneaking suspicion is we'll get some of these things at some point here. There's enough fans that would buy them. Star Wars is, if you're trying to sell figures on the secondary market like I am right now, Star Wars is hot. It does not sit long. It does not sit long at all.
Nope.
No.
All right, guys,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to transition us over, TC, to, I know I just mentioned Krennic, and we'll get a segue here, but that's gone waitlist. That went waitlist fast, and I think people thought Sideshow was artificially creating a waitlist situation, TC, but I mean, you better than any of us on this panel, you're right in the weeds of being able to research things with other retailers and stuff, and you have some of those connections with people like Steven. This one's going to be hard to come by. I think so. Yeah. At this point. Jump on that wait list if you can.
Yeah, very hard to come by. And in the not too distant future, you think it's the last piece to the Rogue One line, maybe the most anticipated figure in the Rogue One line. That combination, pairing that with the Star Wars hype, it hasn't lasted long. I mean, the thing was waitlisted almost as fast as the Mud Trooper. So get it now. Find it wherever you can. If you even have to pay a little bit of a premium, it's worth it. Bryan, you've opened it up, man. How good is it?
Preview.
Yeah. It's the best head sculpt in my collection. I said it.
Dang.
It's just amazing. I know a lot of people hold the Tarkin in high regard. I just happen to have both Tarkin and Krennic on the same shelf, and Tarkin doesn't even hold a candle to Krennic at this point. So it's going to be tough to beat. Now, is it the perfect figure? I don't necessarily think, there's some things that I wish they would have done a little bit differently in terms of his Imperial uniform and whatnot. And like, there's some shortcomings about like some of the lack of hands and stuff like that. But if you're talking a pure head sculpt that looks like Ben Mendelsohn, it's legit one of the best. And there's another one too that it's escaping, Count Dooku. Ryan in our group, I was holding that figure in high regard too. And I think that one's great, but it just doesn't lack the real definition and detail that Krennic has. It's just,
Bryan, you're breaking.
The photos make it look great. Go ahead, guys.
All right, we'll continue on. So next thing on the news is the Hulkbuster is being shipped out. So Hulkbuster, Sideshow shipping out to customers, and various retailers are getting their stock in. Long awaited arrival for that figure. I think, and I don't know about you, Chris, but I was pretty shocked that Hot Toys delivered it pretty much on schedule. Slated to come out second quarter 2020, and that's what happened.
Yeah, that's their bread and butter, though.
That's true.
I mean, that's their flagship 1/6 scale figure, and just the fact that they re-released it with a deluxe version and stuff, and the fact that you can get the kit to upgrade your older version. Hot Toys knew, I bet they knew that they had to deliver with that figure, because it's the focal point to so many 6 scale collectors, displays and collections and stuff. It looks awesome. It's epic. You were showing a picture earlier. It's just like next to a regular 6 scale figure. It's just insane.
Even Hulk.
How big it is, man. It's just it's nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's like definitely a dream world piece for sure. And glad that everybody that wanted it is getting it. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it's a future figure review down the line.
Yeah, I think we kind of transition into the collecting updates. I don't know, Brian, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know. Sorry about that, guys. Having some internet issues in the Fontaine household this evening. So let's shift gears and talk collection update. And I'd say go first right now, but I'll wait because I don't know if this is going to kick off again. So TC, why don't we start with you?
All right, so I'll just go right into it. Speaking of Hulkbuster, that is a figure that I've wanted for a while. So I didn't get it the first time. And by the time I was going to go look for it, again on the secondary market, Hot Toys announced the deluxe version, the re-release. So I've been coveting that one for a long time. You know, the timing's not great, obviously, for the release. So I did do some selling. So a couple of figures I sold in order to pay for the Hulkbuster was a Farm Boy Luke. I know I'm selling Star Wars, and everyone wants Star Wars, so I guess I took advantage of it. But Hot Toys Obi-Wan Kenobi from A New Hope, the Enter Bay Scottie Pippen, and Bryan's Mark 46 that he ended up selling me for a deal. I passed that along to somebody else. So I sold those 4 figures to pay for the Hulkbuster. You know, you guys know it's an expensive figure, but it's one that I wanted to kind of, you know, complete my Age of Ultron collection. I only have a few figures. I got the Mark 43 and then the Hulk from Age of Ultron, so that'll give a nice little trio of figures from that movie. And I don't know, I'm just looking forward to it. I don't like to throw around grails a lot, but when you're talking the Hulkbuster, it's just an engineering marvel, pun intended. And just a great figure, so I'm looking forward to that. And I just ended up also buying Bryan's Rey from The Last Jedi. So that's a figure that I really like that figure. Sculpt's great, and I can pair it with my Luke, Hobo Luke from The Last Jedi. And I also got a Hall of Armor, so I've been kind of building up those slowly. I have 3 of them. I want to get 4 in total. Got that from Big Bad Toy Store. And then just last night I sold Palpatine, or 2 nights ago, I sold Emperor Palpatine from Return of the Jedi. Don't have any Royal Guards. I already have a Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi, but I'm going to show him, display him in his Jedi robe. So, you know, I just didn't feel the need to have him anymore. I think if they release a Darth Sidious, Senator Palpatine, I think that would be a cool one. I think I would probably jump on that.
DX19, calling it.
Yeah, and you know, Palpatine, he's going for his market, as he should right now. He's not heavily discounted anymore in the secondary market, so I was able to kind of take the opportunity, cash in, and kind of put it towards a figure I wanted a little bit more.
Very nice, very nice. Lots of moving and shaking there.
yeah, had to do it because to trade up to get the Hulkbuster, it's just, you know, it's kind of once in not a collecting a lifetime, but once in a few year thing that I'm able to do.
Yeah, we got to do what you got to do. I'll jump in. Mine's pretty short. I don't have a ton of stuff going on. I did end up pre-ordering the 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back Vader from Sideshow because I thought it was going to be an exclusive, and then the next day, other retailers were opened up for ordering, and I'm like, come on, of course.
Letty luck.
Oh man, cursed with the Letty luck. My wife tells me all the time. And then yeah, right. I won't get into the problems we had with the house today. Oh yeah. So then I decided that I was gonna move on from my Last Jedi Kylo Ren. It's a really good figure and stuff. We reviewed it. I forget which episode that was. It was a long time ago with Roy.
17, I think.
17. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know why I remember that.
It was quite a while ago, but great figure again. I I mean, I literally only opened it and I took some pictures from when I was on Generation Skywalker podcast and put it right back in. And our galactic arms dealer, who's in semi-retirement since he can't get any of his arms. He's
I did see the parks are going to open soon, so
yeah,
maybe
hopefully.
out of retirement.
So he's getting that from me. And then that's pretty much it. I've been just selling some other non-6 scale stuff, just trying to continue to purge and fine tune the collection and really get down to what means the most to me. So yeah. What about you, Brian? I know you've got just a couple things. I mean, like nothing that big.
So yeah, speaking of collecting like other things, Roy specifically told me I shouldn't probably talk about this other thing that I'm going to start collecting, but it's not related to our podcast, so I'm just not going to talk about it. But semi-related to that, but also because I've been kind of really giving some deep thought to the Module Case setup I'm going to have. I just want to give a quick shout out to Bryan with Module Case. I got in contact with, gosh, I'm blanking on the scavenger's name, but he just started a new YouTube channel. I said I was going to give him a shout out about the park. Scott Landry, thanks, TC. So he started a YouTube channel, The Parker Files, and his first video that he dropped was setting up Module Cases, and it got me like completely amped. It's a really great video. Check out and subscribe to his channel if you get a chance. Really well produced, and actually a good tutorial of how to set them up, which is great. And his setup looks phenomenal. But anyways, I reached out to him and say, hey, what's the best way to get a hold of Bryan? Because I need to add a top board to the 4 Module Cases I have. So I reached out through an email. Bryan, he got back to me like within a day or something like that and updated my invoice. So whenever that gets ready to go, I've got that. So definitely there and all over the place here. But anyway, so I've been doing some planning there, trying to figure out how I want to set up the collection. I want to make sure I have some, if anybody doesn't know, I mentioned it, Chris, it's been a long time since I mentioned this, but you know, you're a Rebel Commando focus collector. My focus is the Shore Trooper. So I've got, you know, the Anovos helmet, obviously the Hot Toys, which was my first one, and doing a lot of collecting of other things there. And I want to get those back on display. I don't have them on display now. So just trying to figure out how I'm going to set up a room to do that. So 9 figures are leaving. And as of today, also my Ghostbuster set as well. An epic turnaround. Just bye-bye. Just
bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yes, gone.
It's
out of here.
PC for those listening on audio, just hit the grand slam in his home office here. So yeah, so I'm just gonna rattle through it, and I know I sold these to some scavengers. I'm gonna probably forget who I sold to what. I know I just talked to Sean, who's out there watching live now too. I sold him my Force Awakens Han Solo. I decided to part with my Leia Organa on eBay, my First Order Stormtrooper on eBay, Finn on eBay, Empire Strikes Back Yoda on 1/6 Republic, Palpatine on 1/6 Republic, and then this is where it really gets in. You mentioned Ray, TCU, and I just did that deal recently. So this is where it gets really interesting, and partially part of one of the topics I wanted to talk about. So it's so cool to say, hey, I've got all the Rogue One figures, but it's only cool to me, and it's cool to you guys, and TC, you've held that in high regard for a while. But it's just like when I look at some of the figures, it just do I really need 2 Jins, and do I need 3 Death Troopers? So reached out to some scavengers, and they are the beneficiaries of some of my Rogue One figures. And Mark was able to pick up my Jin Disguise, and he's super excited right now in live chat. And probably the one that was the most excited, and Chris, your buddy Justin, it was been looking for a Death Trooper. And it's funny because this is where a benefit of having a collecting community, when you could say, hey, you're searching for something, and sometimes it's just at the right time, right place. You throw it out into the universe. Little did he know that, like, I was talking to you,
I know,
TC and Roy in our admin chat, and I was like, guys, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Do I really need the one with the doll? I have the specialist. 2 flank and Krennic would be enough. And then I saw that. I was like, all right, this helps out a fellow scavenger. It's something he's been looking for a while. Chris, you were saying one of the top figures on his list.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
Gave a little bit of a scavenger deal, but I don't mind doing that when it's a pretty quick and painless thing. It's why Mark and I have now probably sold 19 figures to Mark. Some of them I bought back, but it's kind of crazy. But I mentioned it too. So the other thing, I did decide to part with my Ghostbusters. The long, obviously the Winston situation from a few months ago. When I looked at what I wanted to set up, I love the Ghostbusters. Blitzway did really good things with that line. I didn't have the Ecto 1. It was something that I rather would spend that collect. We talk about using your collection as currency and using that to other pre-orders and stuff that I've got. So it's 9 figures, technically 13 if you count the 4-pack as the entire set, but I didn't add anything. Some other things, pre-orders, I'm contemplating canceling a couple pre-orders as well, not with any of our retailer friends, but it would be with Sideshow. Just really trying to fine-tune the collection. And I showed you guys and I showed Roy kind of like what my new collection setup looks like. And shout out to Nick in our group. I had to show him. Every time he saw my nest of wires for my DTOFs with all the lights and stuff, I think it just gave him he probably just twitched a little bit. So I ripped all those out. I'm just like, I'm done with this. I'm taking them out. And I sent him a picture in the group of showing what it looked like without that. And he got a kick out of that, but we'll see. So the collection looks pretty clean. It's nice to be able to let the figures have room to breathe. And I think that is a good segue, guys, into our topic. And it's, when is it time to sell from your collection? And it's something that as scavengers, it's really tough to do because you look forward to these figures so much, and Hot Toys knocks it out of the park more times than not. It's Chris, it's almost having a scene from a movie on your shelf. And then sometimes you just got to cycle through your collection. So let's bat this around a little bit.
Yeah. So it's healthy, I think, to evaluate your collection and see what doesn't really, see what keeps the spark going, and what kind of see what spark has faded. But I just think, because you can't have everything. You can't have them all. You don't have infinite space. Well, not everybody does. You can store, a bunch of stuff behind you, but when it comes to displaying, it might be a totally different situation for me, because when I decided to delve into the Star Wars figures, Hot Toys Star Wars figures, I really weeded out most of the Marvel figures that I thought could go. And then in the past 6-7 months, I've continued to purge a lot of the Marvel, and I've sold some of the Star Wars stuff that hasn't quite fit into the collection. I'm always thinking about my scene setups and how I'm going to get things displayed. And like with the Kylo, I decided I want Crate Luke by himself. I want him as a standalone figure in a scene. And if I'm going to get another Kylo, it's probably going to be from The Rise of Skywalker. So
His comments are amazing.
I know there's like just so many great.
Our scavengers are rare form tonight.
Yeah, the chat's blowing up. But
So
yeah.
So Chris, TC, I want to throw this over to you, and I'm kind of partially covering up your face right now with Raul's comment here, but when is the time? Yeah, he's still there, guys. Don't worry. It's just me having the audio and internet issues here. So Raul's asking, when is the time to sell? That moment of doubt or hesitation appears in your mind. Doubt and hesitation, in my experience, only grows. TC, I'm probably the worst to answer this because I get I get a thought and I just run with it. I very sometimes regret it because I'll buy a figure back a few different times, but I don't know. That's a tough thing. What Raul posed.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I get what he's saying. I mean, you think, oh, do I really need the figure? You know, maybe yes, maybe no. And then, you know, as you get more figures, then that figure continues to be isolated, and you think of that money and space constraint, and then your mind goes straight to that figure. I get what he's saying. But yeah, really, it's. I always have, you know, anytime you update your collection, there's going to be figures that were once more highly thought of that might transition down to not so highly thought of. It just happens. I mean, say you have like, I don't know, 30 figures. If you add 10 more, I mean, there's going to be 10 that are going to hit the bottom. It's just naturally going to happen. If that's your limit, well, then you have 10 that you can kind of, you know, use as currencies. Like say, Bryan, it just kind of is what it is. I think everyone has their number. Everyone has their budget. Everyone has their space. You know, you collect to those constraints. And I think for some people, they can't imagine their collection being less than 80 figures, with each one having a spot, less than 120 figures. Some might be 10, some might be 5. Everyone has their number. And I think it, like you said, Chris, it's healthy to cycle through it as you see fit. You know, at the end of the day, they're just toys. But I get it. I'm with all you guys. I do struggle to. To sell certain things.
My other brother in the force outside of Mark. Raul, I agree. You and I do belong in a movie institution.
You guys have a rivalry going on.
At least we'll have company there. Don't worry about
quickest turnover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm mentioning Gunga Dungeon here, who I has tuned in for a while. I didn't even realize it when I sold him my Palpatine. So, and he's saying he's bought and sold the Sideshow boss 4 times. So maybe we all do belong in the loony. I think we're all a little bit crazy as collectors. We are do some weird things. The funny thing is like this community, Chris, I think we kind of understand each other. So that's why I think this is why people enjoy commiserating when it comes to stuff like this.
That is the truth right there. Everybody's got like a little bit different style on how they collect. Some people, you know, I forget who it was in the group when you posted the for the podcast episode. Somebody said they've only sold like 1 figure, and it was just like a couple weeks ago or like last week. And some people like have a hard time selling stuff. But I feel that once you start letting stuff go and it goes quick or whatever, it's so much easier to start then dialing in, you know, going through the collection, figuring out, okay, I think that one can go. I think a couple more can go. And then you're just fine tuning things. You know, most of the like 95% of these figures look great no matter what. So it's not like it's usually not because the figure doesn't, you know, it doesn't display great. It's usually just how do you feel about it and how does it fit into your collection.
It's crazy too. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say it's crazy too because like sometimes I'll order a figure and I'll have doubts like right out of the gate. I can just name 2 right now. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Revenge of the Sith. Anakin Skywalker, Revenge of the Sith. But I ended up ordering it, and then when I got them in hand, those things are like at the very top of my collection. Those two figures. Sometimes you can't tell in the pictures how the tailoring really looks in hand. You can't see the layering, you know, the tons of different mixed media on the figure. You can only appreciate that in hand. So that can also change my opinion of figures in the past that I've purchased. You know, because all of a sudden Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, they're right at the top 10. So they're not going anywhere. And then it puts one that you might have thought a little bit highly of in the past, ranks them lower, and then I'm more willing to move off that figure. But then, you know, if you take the proceeds and then put it back into the collection elsewhere, you know, you're really just changing the asset type, you know, within your, you know, collecting, I guess your entire just collecting your collection.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. And
Sorry,
Go
Chris. TC, you made a really good point. I'm going to give a shout out to Robert. And I can't remember exactly the app name, but it was something on like an iOS app that helps you track your collection. And I had asked one of our collector chats that we have going out, includes some of the admins and some of our other favorite collectors and stuff. And I said, hey, guys, I need like some stat advice here. This is a very nerdy thing to ask, but I'd like to rank my entire collection, like top to bottom. It's really hard to do. And whatever measure you do it, it's still kind of iffy. But TC, you had a really good idea to potentially do it by like lines, to say, okay, well, like the Rogue One line. And that's how I eventually arrived at some of the decisions I made. Not saying that they're not good figures, but sometimes going through an exercise like that can help you, make some space. Let's just be perfectly clear. None of us have the disposable income or the display space to just have everything. You're going to have to make decisions. And Chris, you made a point right at the beginning of sometimes it's healthy to let things go. And, it's a point we tried to make before too, is if you just keep pulling in and not, sending anything out, like, are you really a collector or are you kind of hoarding? You're still a collector, but if you're not willing to let something go, and if you watch some of like the really large YouTube channels that cover other methods of collecting, you have somebody out there like Gem Mint and stuff like that, and he's letting stuff go all the time. And sometimes maybe it was a bad decision you made. You didn't like it as much, TC, as you said, once you got it in hand. But sometimes it's to make room or your interests change. I mean, that's one thing we do with like the Spark and stuff. I mean, there's different things at different times that are kind of piquing your curiosity. And just because, it's something Roy is really helping me with, is not trying to pigeonhole myself into this is the type of collector I am, because it can change. It really can change, Chris.
It really can. I mean, I talked about it with Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm not a Lord of the Rings collector, but I love the Lord of the Rings. Could I go down a rabbit hole and start picking up, the Asmus figures? There's tons of Lord of the Rings stuff, action figures, you name it. It's just, I personally pick and choose what I, want to actually collect. Can I get a little piece here or there to have, on my desk? Yeah, sure. That's enough. That satisfies it. But if you start collecting all that stuff, it's like you got to make room somewhere else. And it's like, if I like my Marvel and Star Wars DC Hot Toys more than the Asmus figures completely, like, then they're not worth it for me to start collecting them, because I don't want to make room with those figures, or sacrifice those figures, for something different. But I don't know. And the other thing is, like, maybe if I kind of going off of our Spark, like, again, not going just because you like something today or something new today doesn't mean you have to go out and buy like an entire line. You don't have to do that. You let that stuff sink in and then decide if you want it. I got to tell you, there's been a ton of stuff lately that I bought, and it's just because of that collecting mentality. I just felt like I needed to buy something. I've sold all of it. And it's like, I start thinking, why did I even buy that stuff? I think it's something that a lot of collectors that like to hunt and look for stuff struggle with, is like, you always feel like you need something, and pre-ordering a Hot Toys that doesn't come out for a year doesn't really satisfy that. So it's just another aspect of collecting and kind of that feeling that we deal with. Sorry, tangent.
Yeah, I mean, just like also think about, look, I mean, Hot Toys is coming up on MMS 600, and then, now all the TV figures are making them veer off path and actually making them not produce the Mark I quick enough. But that's another topic for another day. But look, they're going to get to 700, 800. Are you going to really collect 300 figures? I mean, like, at what point do you move off of certain things to kind of fine tune? I mean, there's no way that I would collect, those kind of numbers. So I'm going to probably just, put stuff in rotation. It just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
It's just not my style. I have restraints. There's financial, and then there's also space. I don't want things to look like I'm walking into like a war zone. So, just what it is. I think my sweet spot's probably in the 50 to 100. I mean, in that range somewhere. I mean, if it starts going higher, I don't know. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and I think we'll always have those few figures that really resonate with us personally as collectors and with the franchises that we're dealing with, and those will probably be like our long-term keepers. But I'd say a good majority of the figures I'd be willing to sell. It's just a little bit tougher for me because I want to be able to see them on display. I want to be able to cherish these figures for at least some time period, not just have them, all tucked away in boxes and that sort of thing. I'll talk about it with our feature figure review about Killmonger, just how I feel about reopening that figure. But yeah, it is tough. It is tough because, like we said, a lot of these figures are great figures. So like I could have kept The Last Jedi Kylo Ren. It's a great figure, but just need to move on. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, not that we're running long on this topic, but I think we could just keep going, and we try to keep the podcast to a reasonable length that could be listened to in a few days. So just kind of final throw, we can throw this around, and obviously Raul's chiming in live, saying collect what you love, don't create rules and regulations for yourself in order to implement some sort of symmetry in your collection. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think that's some advice that Roy has been helping me a lot with lately. Is he's very reserved. He has a lot of figures, but he is one of the last of us. He said I think he told us the other day, out of almost 100 figures he said he had, there's maybe only one that he would consider parting with. That's pretty high praise. And like you said,
he has a spot for everything. A plan for everything.
There's other of us like I should be in a looting bin because I change my mind so often, but it's fun. This is an escapism. Collecting's fun, Chris. And we all do it differently. Sometimes it's the thrill of the hunt. Buying and selling figures, just to buy and sell figures, is going to be a losing proposition more often than not. You just try to avoid, air quotes, as many of the bad decisions as you can. But there's also, you get some intrinsic value just because you're taking like a financial loss. You still enjoyed the figures for a period of time. And like you said, Chris, there's more hits than misses when it comes to hot toys and 6-scale collecting. So you don't really lose. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, with these type of figures, there's not a lot of retailers that have them in store. So it's kind of that, it's that type of figure that to have it in hand. Thanks, Scare Bear. Appreciate it.
Scare Bear. We love you too, buddy.
Yeah. Sorry. You don't get to see them in hand. Like, it's one thing when you walk into a retailer. We have, there's a chain of stores called the Toy Vault in the New England area, and they all pretty much carry Hot Toys figures. I mean, they're not. So sometimes you can go in and you can see they might have the figure on display or something. Not everybody has that. And to be able to see the figure in hand. And so that's why, like, we order some of these figures because we want to be able to see them in hand and handle them and photograph them and display them. And if that's all you want to get out of it, and you've got your pictures and you've had your time with it, and then you just want to move on, I mean, that's perfectly fine. I think a lot of reviewers do that. They'll get the figures in, enjoy them, do the review, keep some of them, move on from a lot of them. There's nothing wrong with collecting that way, because you have the pictures, you've got the video, you had your time with the figure. So I would say if you're going to move on from some of your lower level figures, before you sell them, take some good pictures, and so that way you've you've always got that stuff to go back on. You can, look at that stuff, bring back the joy.
Yeah, I just wanted to give one final thought here before we start reviewing Killmonger here. And Mark's asking us to do a Lord of the Rings extended edition of this episode. Mark, sorry to disappoint you. It's not going to happen, buddy. So one thing, Chris, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit too, but sometimes even taking it one step further, and this helped me with my Ghostbuster set. Obviously something that large, it's not something that somebody can just on a whim just decide, oh, I'm going to buy this from this stranger, even though they have a podcast on a group. And it sat for a little bit, and I just wondered, did I price it wrong, and didn't really get a lot of interest and whatnot. And obviously I had to disclose, doing the body swap for a figure and stuff. But one thing that helped me was boxing it up and keeping it boxed up since our last episode and not having it on display. And I didn't really miss it. So that, not that I'm not saying they're not a great set. I love it, but I didn't miss it on display. So I knew it was okay for me to kind of move on. And that might be something I try a little bit more going forward. I tend to just on a whim be like, yep, they're sold. And the next thing I know, it's listed and it's gone 10 minutes later. I'm getting ready to, all three of us have been making multiple trips to the post office lately. So got to get those masks on.
That's right. Gotta be safe.
Mask.
Yeah, dude, I invested heavily into that mask. The mask was $35, and I had to buy.
That's filters. Like the hot toys of. That's like the hot toys of masks. Right now.
It took like a month to get to my house. Definitely the hot toys of masks. X. It's called X suit.
Huh?
Works.
All right. Looks like a paintball mask or something.
Got to go into battle.
Yep.
All right. So we'd love to hear from, if you're in our community, chime in about the episode, what you think. If you need help, I mean, we also have our website. You reach out to us through the contact us. We have people that are not necessarily super savvy or want to be on social media. I know, shout out to one of our listeners, Michael, who's on Instagram, and he's been sharing a lot of photos. And based on our conversation that we had with Lotus, ended up picking up one of those figures recently, and just got his Hulkbuster is either on the way or has arrived. So great to see kind of that enthusiasm in the community, and love hearing. One of the things we love about our community too is hearing about pickups and stuff. It's infectious to hear people also get excited about something that you like to collect, because number one, you kind of feel like you're doing like the right thing, or you're collecting the right thing, I should say. But it's also fun to kind of share in that social aspect of collecting and being part of a community.
Absolutely.
Figure time. Look at this art.
Time.
Box art's amazing.
Oh man, box art is awesome.
All right, hold that up, TC. Go Gio on incredible. Very similar to the Black Panther box. And Chris has got his right there in hand. Awesome. So go over the stats real quick for Eric Killmonger. This figure was a little bit delayed getting out to us, and it's been out for several months now. It's available pretty much everywhere still. Eric Killmonger from the Black Panther solo movie, MMS $471, original retail price $235. Chris, this one's right when you're getting into the Hot Toys game. One of the first figures that you pre-ordered, February 23rd, 2018. We didn't even see it until October 11th, 2019, so almost a year and a half later. The original estimate was quarter 3, 2019. They kind of hit the mark on that one. So you guys have this in hand. I do not. So this is where you guys are going to shine. And I'm going to try to, as you, Chris, once you lead it off, and then go to TC, and I'll see if I can get the photos from the bloggers up.
Yeah. So you're right, Brian. This was one of the first figures I pre-ordered from Sideshow. I think right after, it might have been, it was that last week of February of 2018. So I was waiting for this figure for a long time. Again, anticipated figure for me. I really like the Michael B. Jordan's portrayal of Eric Killmonger. Didn't really have much of a background with that particular character from the comics, so it was basically all new to me. And Michael B. Jordan's a great actor, and he just did an awesome job. Gave the antagonist a very compelling story as to why he did the things he did. I think that's why it worked really well. Too bad we saw him meet his demise in the movie. I mean, if you haven't seen it now, right? But yeah, so this is an interesting figure because, and we think the delays might have been related to the delays. This figure, when it was shown up for pre-order, did not look like the figure you have in hand. The suit was quite a bit different as far as the gold markings, and when there was like a couple promo images or prototypes that were shown that were like way different, and then they finally came to this version of the figure, and if you were expecting the original that was shown and you got this, it was quite a shock. But I gotta tell you, this figure in hand looks pretty spectacular. Our buddy Zach from Collecting Weekly, he did like this wash on all the gold on the suit, which definitely subdued the brightness of it, so it looked really good. So if you have those skills and you want to kind of go with a darker look, it's not that difficult to do. But I love this figure. I think the muscular body is pretty good. Hot Toys did a great job with the underbody. The suit stretches really good. I'll let TC get into his feelings on it, but there's a couple nitpicks when you've got the Eric Killmonger head sculpt on the figure. The way it digs into the striping on the back of the suit, it's not exactly like how. So on this, with the helmeted version, he's got like a lip that is tapered up, whereas on the head sculpt, yeah, Brian's pointing to it on the video, it's got kind of a sharp point that kind of digs into the suit. But for me, it's a great figure, and I'll just kind of finish with this. Having had this figure boxed up for, I think I opened it, I had him on display for a little while, and I boxed him back up. Unboxing this figure, I forgot how much I like this figure, and I'm really glad that I got him. And it's great that he's still available. I think if you're a Michael B. Jordan fan, a Black Panther fan, a villain fan, which we don't get too many in Marvel, I think I think it's a great figure to add to your collection. End story.
A couple things with this figure. Number one, you're right. Just the negative is that head sculpt, the way it fits onto the body. That could have been a little better, but the likeness is on point. It's a phenomenal sculpt to Michael B. Jordan. The fact that this was announced years ago, it was priced at $235. This figure today would not be priced at $235. First of all, this figure is just sick. This is an amazing figure. It's much better, in my opinion, than the actual Black Panther figure.
Yeah.
Just all the details. I mean, all the lines, the Jaguar suit, with the print, and then all these. I don't even know what's on the back of it. Just a bunch of this.
Yeah, it's all
Wakandan symbols. It's like this stenciled in there. It's just crazy, and then it's just the details are insane. I mean, they went above and beyond on this, and then the mask itself, the actual Jaguar helmet, the mask is
so cool.
It's incredible. You see all the prints, all the details, all the textures. I don't care about the prototype versus the final product. In hand, this looks amazing. That you're not going to get. They probably couldn't do the UV effect that they could do on the Black Panther, and they scrapped it. I mean, that just comes down to what it is. But going back to the Wakandan symbols, there's gold symbols, but then there's also these black symbols that you can barely tell they're there, but the fact that they're there and they put the time into it,
It's crazy.
why would they do that? But they did it, and it's amazing. And then the fitting of the suit versus Black Panther, it's much better.
Mhm.
So it's tighter fit. The muscular body, it's just more form fitting. Yeah, it just came out at a bad time. And this is what it is. It came out at the end of the Marvel run for a figure that was announced years ago, lost all of its hype. But man, this is one that I couldn't let go, because it's a one-off villain for Marvel, and you're not going to see it.
Cesar is already calling it now that it's going to go waitlist.
It's an amazing value,
in
my opinion.
Podcast bump.
Yep, the influence. We're influencers here. It really is. You know, the thing is, like, there's some options out there for people that, you know, like this character. They want a different look. There's definitely some options out there to use this head sculpt for a different look, or there's other head sculpts and different like statues that are 1/6 scale and that sort of thing. But his military look looks great. So it would have been, if this figure continued on past the movie, you know, I could see, you know, potentially another version. But it's like you said, this is way better than the Black Panther figure. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I like Black Panther. That figure is kind of it's definitely on the lower tier for me, and I wish I want to keep my Black Panther figures intact to go with my Infinity War lineup. So it's just, I think, again, like I said, if you like the character, the actor, villains, it's a great addition. We just don't get that many villains in the Marvel lineup.
And he was good. He was a good a good villain. Quality. Yep. It was just, like I said, bad timing.
So I have nothing to add about the figure because I don't have it in hand. But TC, that was kind of the point that I wanted to add, is out of all the villains that they've had, he was one of the most compelling. You could actually, I don't, sympathize isn't necessarily the right word, but you could almost see his point of view. Mm-hmm. And gosh, the way the world is today too, you might argue that Thanos may have had the right point of view. Maybe Thanos was right too. But I like the Killmonger character, what they did with the villain there. And then we even have some scavengers that are exclusively villain collectors. So this is one you can definitely think about adding to your collection. So guys, I can't think of anything to, what do we rank this on?
I don't know. Wakandan Spears.
Okay, Wakandan Spears. I'll go with TC first, then you, Chris.
Yeah, here's the thing. I wouldn't go out and, if you were just saying, "Oh, I want a cool figure," I wouldn't buy it just to say, "Oh, it's cool." You gotta like the Marvel franchise, obviously, and the Black Panther movie. But as far as figures go, this is right at the top of some of the best that they've ever done. I don't like giving out 5s a lot, but I mean, this is just, as a figure itself, you know, just separate from anything else, it's a 5. I don't see anything wrong with it except for the head sculpt fitting. Other than that, it's Hot Toys that really at its best.
Yeah. Between the suit construction, the underbody, the head sculpt, both head sculpts, I should say, and you got a couple cool weapons and claws that are so sharp that you'll probably break skin. I mean, I'm probably just under 4.75, just because my suit got a little damaged from that head sculpt being so sharp. So, but yeah, glad it's in my collection. We'll see where things go down the line, but I would, I feel like this is a keeper for sure.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate that review. So go from there. obviously make your own decisions. We're not necessarily influencers like Mark says we are. We're not going to put that on a business card, Mark, but we appreciate the praise. So, guys, I think that's kind of tie a bow on a good episode for the podcast here. So we'll quickly do our plugs and do our sign off. So we have our website, scalescavengers.com. We have our databases that I'm trying to update daily. Sometimes I only add about one page. I think I've maybe got 60 Marvel figures left to go and maybe 40 or 50 DC figures. Star Wars is full complete. So we appreciate everybody checking it out. It's a cool little thing to just use as a research, curious when a figure was released or what the blogger photos were for a figure that came out a couple of years ago. It's kind of cool just to take a stroll down memory lane. So check it out. We don't get any kickbacks on any of that stuff. It's strictly for collectors, and it's a resource that we use as well for the podcast. We've got our TeePublic store, our Facebook page. We're on Instagram and Twitter, not too heavily there, but we have a presence. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and scalescavengers.libsyn.com. You want to grab that RSS feed and throw it into your podcast catcher of choice.
Those are all the places.
Those are all the places.
Yeah, Bryan does a lot of work with the website, and it's starting to pay off. It's got some really, it's really user friendly. That's all I can say about it. Everything's laid out pretty easy to scroll through, and give it a look if you haven't been out there. scalescavengers.com.
Yeah. So just, real quick, piggybacking off that. So each figure that he's done provides like a little bio, and then he's provided, I don't want to take credit for it.
All support.
Yeah. A list of retailers that potentially have that figure in stock, and we don't get any kickback from the different websites. We do from eBay, but it just is it's just a quick guide that you can, it just puts you right where you need to be. And I think we've seen a ridiculous amount of traffic since Bryan's been updating these lists and databases, I should say. And I really do recommend checking it out, guys.
Yeah, and last night I hopped on to Collecting Weekly's podcast. So if you want to see more of me on the podcast,
who wouldn't want to see in their life?
But
I want more to see in my life.
Give those guys a listen. Collecting Weekly, great Swedish shows. Zach Dean, great guys. So.
All right, guys. Appreciate the plugs for the website, and obviously check out that episode of Collecting Weekly. I want to just thank everybody for tuning in live. I think we had over 50 people at one point. We tend to lose a lot of people when we start doing the reviews. Maybe there's some feedback to be had there, but we still love doing it, so we're going to keep doing it. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And Chris, bring us home, my friend.
Excelsior.